So what I do first is I undress the body, so I know what I'm dealing with, right? Because some people might have bed sores, or those are really gross, by the way. They might have all kinds of different things. As I'm undressing, I'm kind of observing the body, seeing what I'm going to be dealing with, and then I bathe the body. So we generally have a hose that I like the nice warm water because it keeps my hands warm, and so bathing the person, and we have this machine off to the side, the embalming machine, and I put in some water. I typically use hot water, so I put in water, and there's this chemical that neutralizes, like it helps the water flow into the venous system better, softens it. Okay, so I put some of that in, and some other things. Anyways, so not the formaldehyde yet. Okay, so I mix up 1 gallon of this solution, and then I get my scalpel, and the clavicle that's right here I use kind of as a cutting board. All right, so because we have this muscle here and this muscle here, and in between is where I can reach in and get your artery and your vein. Okay, your jugular artery. Okay. And I'm gonna forget some terms here, but yeah. So what I do, you do it down here. You don't do it up here, because then everyone's gonna see it, right?
Oh yeah.
Gotcha. So you want to do it below where the collar goes. So I do a small incision. Some embalmers do bigger. I try to keep it as small as possible so that it's less obvious. So small incision, and then we have these 2 hooks, and you kind of start separating the tissue so that you can kind of digging in to see where the artery is. Now, arteries feel like an El Dente noodle.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. So I'm wearing gloves, and I'm wearing my personal protective equipment. So I'll reach in with my finger typically, because I can feel the artery pretty quick. I reach in with my finger right in the neck here, and sometimes it's like, ooh, where is it? And I'm like feeling, I'm feeling the esophagus, and I'm feeling like the muscles, and I'm like, okay, there it is, I feel it. And then it's usually wrapped in this little bundle of tissue to protect it, right? So then my hooks go in there, and I kind of separate the tissue, and I find the artery. If possible, I find the vein first.
Okay.
Because the vein is very thin-walled, and if I nick the vein, then my incision fills up with dark red blood, and I can't see what I'm doing. So if I can find the vein first, then I put a string around it and put a little knot at the end of the string, so I know, okay, I have the vein, and then getting the artery is easy. So I pull up the artery, and I make a little incision, and then I take the hose that comes from the embalming machine. It has a little cannula, it's called, at the end, and I insert it into the artery, tie it off, turn on the machine. I go low and slow.
Like a smoker.
Like a smoker. The best tender. No. I do love smoking meats.
Oh, I'm not going to after this.
Side note, crematorium can fool your nose.
No, stop!
Yes.
Oh.
I'm going to get back to my embalming right after this short story. Okay, so when my first 40 hours, when I was doing that tour and everything, this guy gives me a tour of the cemetery because it's attached to the funeral home. He's booking around, it's nice weather, booking around on this golf course, showing me all the cemetery. And I see this old guy, and it looks like he's tailgating over near his wife's grave.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, cool. He's like, oh yeah, he's here every day. I was like, oh wow, like that's really interesting. I'm like, oh, is he barbecuing? That smells so good.
No.
And then he goes, dude, you're sick. I was like, what? He's like, that's a crematorium. I was like, no. I think it was just the right time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you were definitely made for this job.
Yeah, dude, this is sick.
Kyle's hugging himself right now.
That's so exciting. Like, I don't know why that